First contact and intimidation. The massive vessel appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system without warning. One moment, deep space sensors showed nothing unusual. The next, alarms blared across every monitoring station on the planet as something displaced normal space in a way humanity had never witnessed. Commander Sarah Chen was halfway through her morning coffee when the emergency alert lit up her terminal at Global Defense Command. She'd spent 15 years preparing for this moment. Humanity's first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. Yet now that it was happening, it felt surreal. Status report, she demanded, striding into the command center where dozens of analysts were already working frantically. Vessel is approximately 4.7 kilometers in length, replied Lieutenant Karim. It's holding position just beyond Mars orbit. No detectable weapons signatures yet, but energy readings are off the charts. Are they transmitting? Yes, Commander. Standard radio frequencies. And Karim hesitated. They're broadcasting in English. Before Chen could respond, the main screen activated, revealing a humanoid figure with iridescent scales covering its face and exposed arms. The being wore an ornate uniform with gleaming insignia that seemed to move and shift when viewed directly. People of Earth, the alien began in a resonant voice. I am High Commander Xilax of the Draconian Empire, sovereign rulers of 37 star systems and over 100 habitable worlds. Your planet has been identified as a candidate for annexation. You will immediately surrender all governing authority to imperial representatives and prepare for integration into our glorious empire. A stunned silence fell over the command center. Then, Sarah Chen did something unexpected. She laughed. Is this a joke? She asked, taking another sip of her coffee. The alien's eyes narrowed, vertical pupils contracting to slits. The Draconian Empire does not engage in humor, human. Perhaps you fail to comprehend your situation. Your civilization is primitive by our standards. Resistance would be ill-advised. Chen set down her coffee mug and straightened her uniform. High Commander Xilax, I'm Commander Sarah Chen of Earth's Global Defense Command. We appreciate your introduction, but Earth is not surrendering to anyone. Perhaps we could arrange a proper diplomatic meeting instead. The alien's scales shifted color, darkening slightly. You decline our generous offer of protection. We decline being annexed, Chen clarified. But we're certainly open to establishing diplomatic relations as equals. Equals. The word seemed to physically distress the alien. Commander, you misunderstand. The Draconian Empire does not have equals. We have subjects, vassals, and enemies. Your technology is millennia behind our own. Your weapons would be ineffective against even our smallest vessels. That may be true, Chen acknowledged with a shrug. But we'd still like to talk. Maybe over coffee. It's a beverage we enjoy here. I'd be happy to have some prepared for your diplomatic team. 3 days later, an Imperial shuttle landed at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. The diplomatic team that Earth assembled consisted of representatives from every major nation, along with scientists, cultural experts, and military advisors. Dr. Priya Sharma, Earth's lead diplomat, waited on the landing pad as the alien vessel settled onto the ground with barely a sound. When the shuttle's doors opened, 6 Draconians emerged. Their leader, Ambassador Krell, stood nearly 7 feet tall, his scales shimmering with blues and purples that seemed to move in complex patterns. Welcome to Earth, Dr. Sharma said with a warm smile. I'm Dr. Priya Sharma, head of Humanity's diplomatic course. The ambassador looked down at her extended hand with obvious confusion. You do not prostrate yourselves before imperial representatives, he asked, genuine puzzlement in his voice. On Earth, we greet each other as equals, Sharma explained patiently. A handshake is a sign of mutual respect. The alien reluctantly extended a 4-fingered hand covered in fine scales, most irregular. We've prepared a tour of Geneva before our formal discussions, Sharma continued. Would you prefer to see our historical sites first, or perhaps you'd be interested in our scientific facilities? Tour. The ambassador seemed genuinely perplexed. We expected to begin integration procedures immediately. The standard protocol is for your world leaders to formally submit to imperial authority, followed by the installation of an imperial governor. Dr. Sharma maintained her diplomatic smile. Yes, well, that's not how we do things here. We were thinking more along the lines of cultural exchange, trade agreements, that sort of thing. Now, about that tour. Throughout the day, the draconian delegation was shown Geneva's highlights. They observed humans going about their daily lives, visited museums and universities, and were introduced to Earth cuisine. At each stop, ordinary people approached them with curiosity rather than fear, asking questions and sometimes requesting photographs. Your species shows remarkable lack of deference, Ambassador Krell noted during dinner at a lakeside restaurant. Do they not understand who we are? Oh, they understand you're visitors from another star system. Sharma replied, sipping her wine. But humans have never been particularly impressed by power alone. We value knowledge, kindness, and mutual respect more than dominance. The ambassador's scales darkened. This response is unprecedented. In 3,000 years of imperial expansion, no world has ever refused immediate integration. There's a first time for everything, Sharma said cheerfully. Now, would you like to try the chocolate mousse for dessert? It's divine. By the end of the week, the imperial delegation was clearly frustrated. They had come expecting immediate submission. Instead, they'd been treated as honored guests, but not overlords. During the formal negotiations, Earth's representatives politely but firmly rejected all proposals for integration, while offering friendship treaties, scientific cooperation, and cultural exchanges. On the final day, Ambassador Krell's patience finally broke. This continued resistance is pointless. Perhaps your species requires a demonstration of imperial power to understand your situation. Dr. Sharma's expression remained pleasant. Ambassador, I assure you, threats are unnecessary. We understand perfectly well what your empire is capable of. We simply choose to engage as equals rather than subjects. Choose. The ambassador seemed genuinely baffled by the concept. Lesser civilizations do not choose their relationship with the empire. Yet here we are, Sharma replied. Humans have a long history of facing seemingly insurmountable odds. It's rather a specialty of ours. That evening, the draconian flagship moved into a position clearly visible from Earth, a standard intimidation tactic that had preceded the surrender of countless civilizations. Massive weapon systems became visible along its hull, powering up in a display designed to terrify. At Global Defense Command, Commander Chen monitored the situation with a calm that surprised even her staff. They're charging weapons systems, Lieutenant Karim reported, tension evident in his voice. Let them, Chen replied, sipping a fresh cup of coffee. They won't fire. How can you be so sure? Because they're following a standard imperial playbook. Show of force, followed by demands, followed by a small demonstration of power against an uninhabited area. They'd done this dozens of times to other civilizations. Chen smiled. But they've never encountered humans before. The next morning, as predicted, Ambassador Krell requested an emergency meeting. His scales were now a deep purple, a sign of agitation. Earth's xenobiologists had determined. Your obstinance leaves us no choice, he announced to the assembled human representatives. The Empire has ordered a demonstration of our technological superiority. Observe. On the large screen behind him, a live feed showed the draconian vessel firing a brilliant beam of energy at a small asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. The asteroid instantly vaporized, leaving nothing but scattered dust. When the ambassador turned back, expecting to see terror, he instead found the humans leaning forward with expressions of scientific interest. Fascinating, said Dr. Evelyn Reed, Earth's leading physicist. That appears to be a directed plasma weapon, but the containment field is unlike anything we've theorized. Ambassador, would your scientists be willing to discuss the principles behind that technology? We have several theories we'd love to compare notes on. The ambassador's scales shifted rapidly between colors. You wish to discuss the weapon that could reduce your cities to ash. Knowledge is always worth pursuing, Dr. Reed replied with genuine enthusiasm. Besides, understanding the physics might help us develop better shielding systems. Win-win, wouldn't you say? For the first time in the history of the Draconian Empire, a delegation reported back to the imperial throne with a recommendation that had never before been issued. Proceed with caution. These humans, Ambassador Krell explained to Emperor Drax, do not respond as expected. Our displays of power generate curiosity rather than fear. Our demands for submission are met with offers of friendship. And most disturbing of all, they learn at an alarming rate. Explain, the Emperor commanded, his massive form shifting on the crystalline throne. In 1 week of exposure to our delegation, their scientists began asking questions about technologies we believe centuries beyond their comprehension. One of their engineers casually suggested an improvement to our shuttle's propulsion system that our own scientists are now studying with great interest. The Emperor's scales darkened to a deep crimson. You suggest these primitives could actually teach the Empire. I suggest, Eternal Emperor, that these humans are dangerous in ways we have never encountered before. They do not fear what they should fear. They do not submit when they should submit. And they learn what they should not be able to learn. Emperor Drax rose from his throne, towering over the ambassador. Then perhaps it is time to teach these humans the true meaning of imperial power. Strength and adaptability. The Imperial war fleet arrived at Earth's orbit with overwhelming force. 30 vessels, each capable of reducing a continent to molten slag. They arranged themselves in the traditional crescent of dominance, a formation designed to inspire terror in primitive species. On Earth, the Global Defense Council gathered in emergency session. The room was tense but not panicked. They've arranged themselves in attack formation, reported Admiral Jackson, displaying the tactical feed on the main screen. Classic draconian intimidation pattern. Commander Chen nodded. As expected. Options. UN Secretary General Miguel Vargas sighed. Could we invite them to a football match? The World Cup finals are tomorrow. The room fell silent for a moment before breaking into nervous laughter, releasing some of the tension. Actually, Chen said thoughtfully, that's not a bad idea. 3 hours later, Fleet Commander Vazux of the Draconian Empire found himself sitting in a stadium with 80,000 humans, watching 22 of them chase a small ball across a field of grass. A foam finger labeled Brazil No. 1 had been enthusiastically placed on his clawed hand by a young human child who seemed completely unafraid of his imposing presence. Admiral Sophia Rise of Earth's United Space Forces sat beside him, enjoying a beer and occasionally shouting encouragement to the players. Explain this ritual again, Vazux asked, watching a player execute a complicated maneuver with the ball. Guy tries to get ball in net. Other team tries to stop him. Rise explained between cheers. Been playing this game for about 200 years. The World Cup is a big deal. Countries compete for global bragging rights. And this demonstrates your military resolve. How exactly? Rise laughed. It doesn't. It's just a good game. Look, we know why you're here with 30 warships. The Emperor's annoyed that we won't kneel. The crowd roared as a player scored, and Vazux flinched as 80,000 humans jumped to their feet around him. I have been authorized to deliver the Emperor's final ultimatum, Vazux said when the noise subsided. Earth must accept imperial rule within 24 hours or face the consequences. Rise nodded thoughtfully, then tapped a command into her wristband. Rise to command. Activate Protocol Aurora. Suddenly, on the massive stadium screen, live footage appeared of Earth's orbital space. A shimmer rippled around the planet, and then a previously invisible energy shield flickered into visibility, encasing the entire planet in a protective bubble. Vazux's mouth fell open. That's quantum barrier technology. Even the Empire only has it protecting our core worlds. Yeah, we reverse-engineered it from some tech we found on a crashed Imperial scout ship about 15 years ago, Rice said casually. Made some improvements too. Your fleet couldn't penetrate it with all their firepower combined. The fleet commander stared at her in disbelief. But your space vessels are primitive. Your fastest ships barely achieve sublight speeds. Rice shrugged. We decided to focus on defense before expansion. Seemed prudent with empires like yours around. She offered him some nachos. Want some? They're good with cheese. Vazux ignored the snack. You deceived the Empire. You pretended to be less advanced than you are. No, we just didn't show all our cards at once, Rice corrected. On Earth, we have a saying, trust, but verify. We wanted to see what kind of neighbors you'd be before deciding how much to share. The crowd roared again as Brazil scored another goal. The Emperor will see this as the greatest insult yet, Vazux warned. Maybe, Rice agreed. Or maybe he'll finally understand we're serious about being treated as equals. Earth has no interest in conquering anyone, but we won't be conquered either. Vazux returned to his flagship in a state of shock. His second-in-command noticed his unusual silence as he settled into his command chair. Sir, your orders? His officer finally ventured. Vazux's clawed hand tightened on the armrest. Contact the Emperor immediately. When Emperor Drax's image appeared on the screen, his crystalline crown seemed to pulse with his agitation. Commander, why has Earth not yet begun surrender preparations? Your Magnificence, Vazux began carefully. The humans have revealed certain technological capabilities we were unaware of. He transmitted the footage of Earth's planetary shield activating. They have a quantum barrier system protecting their entire planet. Our weapons cannot penetrate it. The Emperor's scales shifted to a dangerous black hue. Impossible. That technology is restricted to our 5 core worlds. Nevertheless, they have it, Your Magnificence, and they claim to have improved upon our design. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Show them the consequences of defiance. Destroy their moon. Hours later, the Earth's Defense Council watched as the Imperial fleet positioned itself around Earth's moon, where human bases had been evacuated as a precaution. They're going to destroy the moon, Rice said calmly. Classic escalation tactic. Dr. Maxwell Harrison, Earth's leading quantum physicist, nodded as he monitored readings on his tablet. Let them try. It's the perfect opportunity to gather data on their weapon systems. The Imperial flagship fired a concentrated beam of energy that struck the moon's surface, only to dissipate harmlessly against another previously invisible shield. Impressive, Dr. Harrison noted, swiping through readings. Though their quantum beam technology is less efficient than what we developed in 2082. The entire Imperial fleet fired simultaneously, creating a spectacular light show visible from Earth's surface, but the lunar shield held firm. In the ensuing silence, Secretary General Vargas sighed. I suppose we should respond before they blow up something important. Already on it, Commander Chen said, pressing a button on her console. In space, a previously invisible Earth defense satellite cloaked near the Imperial fleet. It fired a thin blue beam that passed harmlessly between 2 Imperial vessels, striking a small asteroid in the distance. Instead of exploding, the asteroid simply disappeared. What just happened? Demanded Emperor Drax as the fleet commanders reported the incident. Unknown, Your Magnificence, Vazux replied, visibly shaken. Our sensors indicate the asteroid was removed from normal spacetime, perhaps transported to another location or dimension. A communication request from Earth interrupted them. When accepted, Commander Chen's face appeared on screen. Emperor Drax, she greeted him politely. I hope our little demonstration was instructive. That technology is something we call a spatial folding device. It doesn't destroy matter, it simply relocates it. In this case, we moved that asteroid about half a light year away. We could just as easily have relocated it inside one of your vessels, but that seemed unnecessarily hostile. The Emperor's scales shifted through a range of colors never before seen by his commanders. How? He finally managed. How has your species developed these technologies so rapidly? Chen smiled. Humans have a remarkable ability to adapt, Emperor. When faced with challenges, we innovate. When threatened, we unite. It's what we do best. And what is it you want? The Emperor demanded. The same thing we've wanted from the beginning. To be treated as equals. To engage in cultural and scientific exchange that benefits both our peoples. To be friends rather than subjects. 3 months later, the Treaty of Geneva was signed. The first equal partnership agreement in the 3,000-year history of the Draconian Empire. As Emperor Drax reluctantly pressed his seal into the document, Ambassador Krell leaned toward his human counterpart. I still do not understand, he admitted quietly. How did your species resist the fear that has subdued 100 worlds? Dr. Sharma smiled. That's the secret to humanity's success. Ambassador, throughout our history, we've faced extinction-level threats, ice ages, plagues, world wars, climate disasters. Each time, we survived not by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable. We learned to turn fear into curiosity, threats into opportunities for growth. The Empire has much to learn from humanity, Krell acknowledged, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue. And we have much to learn from you, Sharma replied. That's what equals do. They learn from each other. As the delegates dispersed, Emperor Drax approached Commander Chen, towering over her. Your species is dangerous, he observed, not unkindly. Chen nodded. Yes, but not in the way you initially thought. Our greatest weapon has never been technology, Emperor. It's our stubborn refusal to accept limitations, even those that seem written into the laws of physics or the rules of interstellar politics. The Emperor's scales shifted to a color no human had seen before. The unbreakable species, he said, testing the phrase. That is what we shall call you in our histories. Chen smiled. We'll take that as a compliment. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, an empire had encountered a species that couldn't be conquered through fear or force, and the universe would never be the same.